Good morning and welcome to our show today. The title is We Are the Experts of Our Lives. We are being broadcast on 4MTV and the Path to Serenity. Thank you for joining us here today. I am your host, Kara Kihm. I am a psychotherapist and author, and I've written a book, Discovering My Wings, which talks about how my life radically transformed when I discovered the voice of my intuition and started following that guidance at all costs. And I'm also a Reiki master, and I have a private practice blending psychotherapy and energy work. And I'm very excited for our guest here today. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Gosia Miernik, and she is a person-centered psychotherapist, a life coach, an artist, and a lifelong learner. And Gosia grew up in Poland. She then moved to Italy and is now settled in England. And so her travels have really informed sort of her cultural views and have helped her shape her identity and what she is now doing with her practice. And so Gosia today is a psychotherapist who helps women to overcome codependent tendencies that keep them powerless and hinder their happiness. And she supports women in breaking vicious cycles that leave them stuck and in patterns of helping other people who won't help themselves. And we are so excited to learn more about your work and dive in. I know you also help clients with substances and just any experiences that really keep them from living their most empowered lives. Yes. So thank you for joining us here today. We're very excited to have you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Kara, for having me. I am really grateful that we will be able to have this conversation.
Yes, yes. And it's been so powerful to connect with you and just to have conversations with you. You know, we sort of met through Instagram, and you're originally from Poland, which is where my
Yes.
family is from. And so there was a strong bond and a strong connection there. And we've talked about this sort of generational trauma there and this generational cycles there of lots and lots of heartache and lots of pain. And so that has really informed a lot of your work. It's just the country that you come from and all of the things that you've experienced there, this collective trauma. So tell us about that collective trauma and how it has really informed your desire to be a therapist.
Yes, yes, the connection between us when you reach out and you didn't have any knowledge that I am from Poland. And I said,
No.
I am living in England, but originally I am from Poland. And you said, wow, my grandfather was Polish. And somehow our conversation led to this ancestors' work, collective trauma.
Yes, yes.
So yes,
exactly.
and it's a very current because this is what is happening in Ukraine and Poland at this moment. All these collective traumas is activated, and it's another generations potentially will be affected by collective traumas, and of course 2 years of pandemic.
Yes,
It's
yes.
all of that is like collective traumas coming to the surface, and it's activated. Of course, there is opportunity for heal all of that. Look at it. If we only pay attention, if we only kind of recognize what's happening and just kind of, look inside this war within us.
Yes. Yes.
But
yes.
how did influence my desire to become a therapist? So as we see all women with children, if we are talking about my grandfathers, great grandfathers, they lived during the war, and of course it was different time. So basically, the women, they had to stay with the children, men, they went to fight for the country. But what was happening, women at that time, they had to think about the food, how to find the food, take care of children, and at some deep level there was rage towards men that they left. and they went
Mm.
fighting, of course, in the good cause, but still the women, they had to cut off from feminine part. From feminine part, it means creativity. Then we have got men fighting, survivor guilt. If they survived, what they
Yeah.
had to do, the terrifying, circumstances, which actually it's happening, like history goes in the circle, it's happening now.
And we didn't.
I lost you. Mm. Hello.
Oh
Okay, you are
gosh.
back. You are back now.
Fingers, the internet cooperates with us. Crossing
Yes,
our
yeah.
fingers. But we met before any of this was going on with the Ukraine. And so it feels quite timely that we
Yes.
to schedule our show months in advance for the it just feels very purposefully aligned right now.
Mm. This is what is happening, and it's survival mode. The women at this moment, Ukrainian women, they are in survival mode, and this is what was happening at that time. People, my great grandfathers, they had to cut themselves off from the feelings. Yesterday
Yeah.
trauma had to stay in yesterday because they had to
Yes.
carry on, they had to go. And then, post-war, still, in the kind of hope that something will change, but still in the waiting, maybe for people who never come back, in this
Right.
suspension.
Right.
Yeah. And then, it's like my parents, so we already have got generation with emotionally cut off,
Yes.
absent fathers. And then
Yes.
it's my parents, there was communist alcohol flow. Where alcohol flows, love didn't flows.
Mm.
So we have got
Because it's a
absent
coping
father.
strategy.
Of course, coping strategies, there was no space. It's too close to look at all these traumas, to process them on individual level and collective. And then, my generations, of course, they did what they could. They did the best.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
And often the women, there is that myth of Polish mother. It's a quite kind of well-known myth of Polish mother. So my
Okay.
mother sacrificed everything, her
Mm.
needs, her dreams. He, a lot of women, they were upholding this dysfunctional kind of families, men who were
Yeah.
very wounded afterward. So there
Yes.
was a codependency already was going on.
Right, right. And so
Mm,
with these generational patterns that it's the trauma being
yes,
passed down, and now we're
yes,
seeing that happen again. Here we've
yeah,
come full circle.
yes.
Where do we even begin with the support and the mental health piece and becoming the experts of our lives, coming back to ourselves? I mean, these are big questions, not that we have the answers to
Huge.
all
Yes.
today, but
Mm.
they're important things to be looking at.
Yes. Yeah. It's a very important question, big question. And like you said, it's something because help will be needed in long term. Now at
Yes,
this moment, people are in survivor mode and reactive in helping, and it's important as well checking as well with yourself.
yes, yes. Right.
Mm. So
Wow.
how this influence my desire? I come from them, from all
Yes.
these women. My life came to them. They could never be me without them. I always wasn't sure because a part of the training is a lot of personal development, but I never was sure. Is it right? Is it right? always there was this forceful energy. Something wasn't right, and in the moment when I started doing ancestors work, family constellation, generational syndrome, work out this my hidden loyalties, now I know they
Yeah.
sacrificed a lot. Now I can go to my life
Yeah.
and create my life, and that's but that's a kind of recent, maybe 1 year, that I feel I feel behind them, and I know that it's for them, and it's my mission, and
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
lightness is it in it. It's solid, it's solid, and I know. So I am really
Yes.
grateful. Mm, yeah,
Yeah, makes me cry. That brings tears to my eyes because
yeah,
I don't think it matters where we come from in the world. I think we
mm,
all have ancestral generational
all.
trauma. I mean,
Mm,
what country has not been affected by
no,
war and trauma and
no,
pain, you
yeah,
know? And so as
mm,
we heal ourselves, it the experts say we heal 7 generations forward
yes,
and
yeah,
7 generations back.
generation,
And
yeah,
so doing this work now is really healing and shifting the ancestral trauma that gets passed down through the
of
DNA.
course. Of course, and that's like you said, Bert Hellinger. He said 7 generation backwards and 7 generation forward, and it's this morphogenetic field. It's not a woo stuff. It's
Yeah.
basically science. It's a Rupert Sheldrake. It's a biologist, British biologist, and he said about this interconnection between organism and collective memory of the species. It's a biologist, but he was talking about this morphic resonance, and we are connected with ancestors, and when we
Yes.
cut from our roots, that's when we don't have this life force energy, because that comes from them. And it's to honor them and their life, to acknowledge. Mm,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's so powerful. That's so,
Yes.
so
Mm.
powerful.
It's for me it's
Yes.
a huge part of my work. I do really now, and it's like 1 year I made a lot of changes, and I just basically was in this empty space, because I left a lot of safety, but it was my empty space, not someone's anything, and it was starting coming more, and now I know it's within me, for
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
I am
Yes.
grateful. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
The healing within you
Yeah.
is for them.
Yeah.
Ah, that is
and
so,
and the work which and the women, they are coming, codependency, orbiting around the others, and
yeah.
very
Yeah.
strong. I work with Eastern European, Middle East, and as well I have got client from States, and English clients. But there is something very strong, Eastern European, very strong, building their own businesses, but relationship codependency is like kind of, that's the kind of this, cut it off from feminine, from soft,
Mm.
which as well is a part of my
Yes.
journey. Mm,
At what on in ourselves, that's often how that happens. But that strength is what you can build off of, because people who have survived these traumas, these horrors, these wars, there is a strength in them. There is an
yes.
endurance. There is
Yeah.
this fire to keep going. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here.
No, they wouldn't. Loss of vigilance during the war equaled death.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes. And so you can build off of that strength.
Yes, and only now, because of the distance, in my safe space, more comfortable bed, I can allowed myself for this luxury of depression, of feeling the pain, or release the pain, of
Yes.
the tears. They can melt the
Right.
trauma
Yes.
within, and that's there,
Yes. Yes.
which
Because
I
when
carry.
Yes, because when we're in survival mode, we can't do the work. We don't
No,
have the capacity to
no,
do this healing work
no.
because we're just trying to make it through the day. And so
Yes,
that's obviously, happening now
yeah,
in the Ukraine and
yes.
this areas. I
Mhm.
mean, and so it's like the next generations are the ones
Yeah,
who start the healing process
yeah, yes.
for the collective. And you're doing
Mm,
that for your
yeah.
ancestors in
Yeah, I
Poland.
think that my generation and after me, there is so many things are changing, in Poland, in this generation, and people who, emigrated, and they can do from distance, they can, and my mother never could ask herself, who am I, what I want to do in my life.
Yes, right, right. She didn't have that luxury.
No, because her focus wasn't about on us.
Yeah,
She, emotionally, yes, she did what she could the best.
yeah,
And I remember, like, in the morning she was going and preparing pack lunches, and the pear, we had pear tree,
yeah.
and this taste of this pear, I have never tasted the pear like that. That was her love.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely.
And clean clothes, warm food,
Yeah,
soup,
yeah,
cakes, all
yes.
this clean house, that was her kind of, how, because that's the love, mm, in
Mm,
this form.
yes. Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And so, because of her love, you've had this privilege to live abroad and go to Italy, and you're now in England
Mm.
and to sort of
Yeah,
work see different cultures and see the world and really dive into your own work because of that love
yes.
and to take this journey of healing your generational trauma. And so, how has living in other cultures assisted you and aided with that journey?
Mm. We mentioned that, first of all, it distance.
Yeah.
That you having this, um, I would never question the things if I would stay in familiar environment. Only when we can get
Mhm.
out of familiar, we can look back and ask the question, because sometimes we don't question. So we
Right.
can question, is it mine? Is
Yeah.
it my personal, kind of belongs to my personal history? It's family history. I could
Yes.
look at the family dynamic from the distance,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and I could do, and and I did it. I rebuilt my personal history. I know what is mine. I know what is coming from family. You know, but I am part
Mm.
as well of it. And privileged
Yes.
position, being in this country when I'm living in England. Now I can look from outside, and I can take from here, and I can take from here. I can leave
Yeah.
what I don't like it, and I can leave what I don't like in Poland. So it's a richness of it.
Yes. 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 And so
Yeah.
much of what we're carrying, these ancestral traumas, they're parts of us, but they're not ours. They're not
No,
even
no,
ours.
no,
And so that
no.
distance.
And yes, and it's called hidden loyalties or generational syndromes, that we carry. We can be entangled with, I don't know, grandfather from mother or auntie, and we don't know. We just come. It comes through us, and we drawn to something, And when we do the work, we're realizing, oh my God, in because it's everything of love in the family constellation, and loyalty, these hidden loyalties. And if we
Mm,
don't do the work, we won't be able to experience our own life and our own passion, because there will be some kind of holding. It's a loyalty when the when we look at the tribes, if you leave the tribe, is worse than the death.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes. And so you've had that privilege to leave the tribe,
yes,
and that gave you a different perception, a
yeah,
different perspective of your own
yes,
healing and your own trauma.
yeah. So that's, and other things, what it gave me, that even working with people who living in English, were born in England, I realizing that estrangement and exile is universal
Yes,
experience.
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. And so you've studied Carl Rogers. You've loved
Yes.
studying him, and you're also an artist and practice art therapy. So tell us how Carl Rogers and his work and art therapy plays into this healing that you've done and you help your
Yeah.
clients with.
So basically, Carl Rogers, introduced something completely different at the time, alongside psychoanalytical and behavior therapies. He said, "No, I'm not an expert. Client knows." And I
Mm,
have got the same philosophy in me, that it's very strongly resonated, that we know
yes.
because of conditioning, because of lying to ourselves. We lie to ourselves so much, and it
Mm,
comes with the form of defensive mechanism and denial. But there is something that we know. If you like coffee or tea, deep down. And
yes.
just kind of, as a therapist, I can support you, but as well, I don't fix your life. I don't tell you how to live your life. But if I notice certain patterns or this defensive mechanism, hey, we have a look at it. What's going on there? So that's and as well, Carl Rogers was saying that experience is my higher authority, and this knowing.
Mm,
I know.
mm, mm.
Mm. So
Right.
so
Yes.
yeah, and so that's kind of, what do you want? Ask yourself, what do you want? Do you like it or you
Mm,
don't like it?
mhm,
And
mhm.
one
Yeah.
more thing in person center is actualizing tendency. It's a it's a drive within us. Carl Rogers, he just kind of he was very great observer, and he took a lot of from his childhood, and he observed when he was growing up on the farm, that there were potatoes in the basement, and the sprouts, they were kind of growing to the light through the window. Not very nourishing environment, but they were always striving to become. And
Uh,
that's the process. We are in the process, and
yeah.
it's changing. But that's experience. That's yeah.
Yes, striving towards the light, trying to find
Yes.
the light. And
Mm,
that's what resonated so much when we connected. And that's how we got the title for our show today. We are the
yeah.
experts of our
Yeah.
lives,
Yeah.
from Carl
Yeah.
Rogers and his belief and everything that you've studied. So
Mm,
you are just the guide. The
yeah.
client is the expert. You're just helping
Yes.
guide them.
Mm.
And that resonated so much because I wrote a book on intuition. This is my passion.
Yeah.
It's
Yes. Yeah.
intuition. And I
Yeah.
think that is what that voice is, striving towards the light. We have
Yes.
this inner knowing. I believe it's the voice of our intuition. Some
Yes.
people may say empowerment, whatever, but I think we're saying the same thing. So
In
we
different
know,
vocabulary, but the same things.
yes,
Terminology. Yes, absolutely. And
yes,
art for me is very powerful. Language is very good because conveys our consciousness, but
mm,
always before language there is a image.
mhm,
So sometimes it's very difficult to hide behind the image, because it comes from, I don't know, from somewhere. It comes from, it's a very visceral experience. We are very
yes,
touched by reading the poem, by looking at the
mhm,
picture. So if we cannot access, or we stuck with certain configuration, creative way of working is the way forward, to move that, to shift that.
yes.
and
Yes.
create the space and allowed ourselves to do this, to have a go. It's difficult to hide behind it. Sometimes we can hide behind the words, we can put our nice words, we can talk this way and the other way, but when we are in the process of creation and we allowed ourselves to do it, it's a lot of things can be shifted.
Yes.
And again, brain likes symbols and rituals. Old brain, which cares about survival, survive millions.
Yes.
And so it's a limbic system, hippocampus, amygdala, and old brain, but we have got new brain. But it's good things about the brain because it's a plastic, it can change. But that's why in creative way, like visualization, which I always implementing, incorporating, or creative way of working, or using toys. I remember that I was working with toys, and one client picked up little girl, and as a kind of something what was behind, which was very kind of traumatic, pick up dinosaur, which is reptilian brain. So that's how I incorporating and art, expressive way of creative way of working with clients.
Yes, beautiful, because art is so authentic.
Yes,
It comes from deep in the soul,
yeah,
with like poetry, and it's so authentic, and you can't really hide behind it, like you were saying.
no, no.
It brings
You
things forward.
cannot fake it. You cannot fake it. No,
No, it
because
brings,
it's very unique and very visceral. It comes from visceral, almost something very, yeah.
yes, absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
and it brings forth what's sometimes buried and hidden in there that wants to be expressed.
Yes, and something what is difficult to maybe talk about,
Mm-hmm.
unspeakable. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that during my studies, during the fine art, materials were my language. It's yes. So
It gives
some
you language.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it gave you
mm,
language.
yeah.
That's so powerful. And so you
Yes,
incorporate that with your clients.
yeah,
They are the experts of their lives,
yeah.
and they can speak their language through art, which sometimes feels more safe because things in
Mm,
the world are
mm.
unspeakable.
Yeah, through expressive methods, because visualization or kind of creative way. Yeah, not necessary art.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you are an artist.
Yes, I am an artist. Yes,
Yes. And art has been a big part of your healing and your journey.
huge catalyst for my personal development and all the healings. That when it's opened everything. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. And I know
Mm.
that you deeply believe, as we're doing this work, the body is the barometer. It's sort of telling us what's
Yeah.
going on. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, and more I do this work, I am realizing that everybody lies, we all lie ourselves, but
Mm,
symptoms and the body doesn't lie. And
mm,
we experience emotion on the bodily.
mhm.
They are in the body. They
Yeah.
not good, not bad, they are energies.
Right. Right.
And here so I in I like searching and checking on myself. That's I can invite a client to do this, and that's David Hawkins for me here, of
Yeah.
letting go and scale of emotions. So like they're not good, not bad, they just are. Of course, shame is the lowest hertz of vibration of energy, is 20 hertz. Love is 500, so
Oh,
it's
wow.
yeah.
You
And
studied the different hertz of energies, of feelings.
yes, so that's why in biology again is everything or nothing. If we cannot act, we cannot if we are in denial of this low kind of vibrating emotions, we won't be able to access this higher one, because we always fluctuating. So
Mm,
that's with the body. What am I feeling? It's
mm,
and how I use this with clients, it's okay. So what's happening? I don't know. Where is in the body?
Yeah.
It may
Yes.
be in the stomach. Okay, so we don't know what is it.
Yeah.
So let's we feel it. How does it look? How does
Yes.
it, what shape?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
there any picture comes to it?
Yes.
Is this and this? Okay, so it's cloud maybe. Okay, so let's we allow this cloud to be there. And
Mm,
then is something, of course, breathing, which stimulates parasympathetic nervous system. But then I'm asking, is it your intention to let it go of these feelings?
right. Right. Yeah.
If client says no, we having another kind of conversation. So what's happening? What is that's preventing to let it go? And
Mm,
if, for example, I can say, um, yeah, so there is a bit of kind of conversation. If there is a resistance, so let's we meet this resistance. Where is it again? Are you ready to let it go of this resistance? Is it
mm,
your intention? When?
yeah.
And then
Yes.
it's imaginative way of working. Imagine that it goes along your spine and it's exiting your body.
Yes.
And
Yes.
because without the context, what did what in your life?
Yeah.
Just focus on the sensation, how it is in your body.
Right. Right. Because we don't have to get into the specific trauma to release it.
No, no.
Yeah.
It's a long process, of course, because like we are talking that trauma happened in the childhood, that I do really believe that organism is very clever. When it will be ready to deal with the trauma, it will, but it's a process.
It's a process.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
a
process.
process.
Yeah,
And so is healing this collective trauma,
yeah.
this
Mm,
generational
yeah,
trauma, this
yeah.
ancestral trauma.
Yes,
It is a process not only for us as the individuals, but for the lines and
yeah.
generations down. You know,
Mm,
we
mm,
may be starting the process, but it's going to be
mm.
a process.
Yeah, and the body will tell you, is it my place? Is it not my place? Do I feel good here? What is it? And symptoms in the form of illness. What
Yeah,
what is, yeah. Mm,
what's there, what's being
yeah,
stored. Oh,
yeah.
it's so
Mm,
true. Oh,
mm,
this is such important work, such
yeah,
important work,
very.
especially when we look at what's happening in the world right now
Yes, yeah,
and how we start to tune into our bodies
yeah.
and heal these ancestral
Mm,
generational
yes,
traumas and
coming
patterns.
back to yourself. It's very important.
Yes, coming back to
It's
ourselves.
foundation. It's foundation
Yes,
in
yes,
life.
and
Because
coming
it's
back to
so
being the
so
expert.
much is coming, so much is coming. And if we don't heal this our traumas, we will be in the survival mode and they will be activated.
Yeah,
Mm,
yes, yes. It's
mm,
so powerful. Ah, I'm
mm.
so thrilled you've been able to join us today.
Yes,
Thank you, Gosia, for coming. What is
thank
one
you.
thing you can leave the audience with? Just a tip or a tool or one thing to share as we
Yeah,
close?
yes. For me, it's something about do your work, know yourself, know your personal history, know your family history,
Yes.
and it's a process. Awareness, what Carl Rogers was calling like kind of congruence, is a state. It's interchangeable. It's not that you've become aware and you are aware of your life. No,
Yeah.
it's a process.
Yes.
And I do believe that things there will turn around. They definitely turn around. A table will turn around when I stopped argue with God about the weather.
Yeah.
It's metaphorically, that
Yes. Yes.
that the life which came from my mother, from my father, and from my ancestor, it's only about that life, this
Yeah.
precious gift, and that's up to us what we are going to do.
Yeah.
Mm,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Stop arguing with God about the
Yeah.
weather. I mean, it's the same thing with our ancestors. We
Yeah.
can't help where we came from. It
No.
is
No.
part of our story. It is part
Mm,
of our DNA.
yes.
And just like we can't help the weather. And
Yeah.
how are we going to be the experts of our life and what will we choose?
Yeah.
Ah,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
you. Oh my
Thank you
God,
so much,
so
Kara.
amazing to connect with you.
Our ancestors, they were present, and
They were
they are
here.
cheering us. They are cheering us,
They are. They are hearing us. Yes,
Yeah.
they are. And we
Mm,
set the intention to call them in
yeah.
before this, which makes
Yes, and they sacrificed a lot for
yeah,
for honoring and celebrating their life. We don't
yeah,
want to waste another life, you know.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Ah, so powerful. It brings tears to my
yeah.
eyes. Thank
Mm.
you so much. It's been such
Thank
a
you
pleasure
so
to have
much.
you here today.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be in touch.
Mm.